Landing pages equals sales for the most part. It is the currency of experimentation. Lets you try new copy with new products on new audiences. However, it is difficult to keep pumping out creators when you're trying to stay on top of everything else. So I'm going to show you how big brands tackle this problem at scale. If you don't have a developer, that is not a problem. It's a non-technical video. However, if you do have a developer, it could potentially 3x their speed. My name is Isaac from BS DevShop, previously CTO of a funded startup and previous tech lead of a 500 million D2C brand. And today I'm going to be teaching you how to bring together components of a landing page so that you can stack them in any order you want, make any variation you want, and ship them as fast as you need. In layman's terms, it's a component library. There are 3 stages. Find 10 pages that you're a big, mega, massive fan of. So this could be any brand, any niche, and find the pages that you think are the most appropriate for selling the product, where you read it and you think, whoa, this is crazy. Ideally, you also want them to be very diverse, and I'll explain why in the next step. Secondly, you need to find a good designer. Good is important. Third, find a reasonable developer. If you can find a great developer, that's great, but if you have a good designer, kind of supplements the developer a bit on this project. So with the references, 10 of your favorite pages. The more diverse, the better. And the reason why is because I want you to put these on some sort of mood board. Sliders, banners, buttons, primary, secondary, tertiary buttons, like different colors and variations of them. Anything that stands out as useful, put them in a big, massive file. Ideally, have the original page it comes from as well, so the developer can look up for reference. And then you're going to give this to the designer. Okay, now that's actually the hard part over. I know I glossed over it, can take some time to do. Step 2, give this to a designer. Tell them that you want a design system and a component library. This is why they need to be good, or they won't really understand what you mean by design system. But a design system is fundamentally a rule set for how a layout is done. So it's to do with like spacing on between elements, like the margins, the border radiuses, the fonts, the colors. It kind of dictates everything. So what you need them to do is to build you a brand style and then build a component library with that brand style. Basically, all the elements that you saw, you want them to create a version that works for your brand. That's it. By telling them you want a component library, a good designer will actually understand this, and for each element, they will have different variations. So you will have 2 different types of banner or carousel or different things. If it's helpful, a really good example of this is if you've seen YouTuber thumbnails where they always have like similar pictures of like their face. They'll do one big shoot day where they have a bunch of different outfit changes. They'll do expressions and take pictures. And then their team can just remodel these variations into anything they want. They'll put any background on it. They'll have their expression. They can edit it. But it just means you take all of these references from the jump and then you can spin it any way you want. It's like you're building your own Canva. Now, step 3, as long as the designer was decent with how they design this and they create a proper component library and design system, in theory, you just have to give this to your developer. The developer can build this out on Shopify. I personally would advise using sort of naming convention. So for every component they build, maybe call it like, LP dash and then the component name, so you always know what's for the landing page. But in short, you can now, after the developer has built all the components from the designer gave you, you can just build your own landing pages or get your developer to do them with the features you have. This actually speeds you up on 2 ends of the spectrum, because now you have all these components and reference pieces. A designer or yourself can go into the component library and put things together and make a design. So because you already have the elements, all you're really changing is like the images and the text for the most part. And then because that's already built, all the developer has to do is rejig everything with the new copy and the images. That is it. It's really quite simple. It does take some work up front to get everything right. And honestly, they won't be perfect when you first try and do everything. But this is how people build out their own component library so they can move fast. The only way you can move fast really is systematizing and automating, and this is a big part of that process. It's expensive up front, but then afterwards, it's incredibly cheap to do as many times as you want. You could literally get thousands of landing pages out of this and do them all in theory within a day or 2. So I hope that was helpful, but this is how brands systematize creating landing pages. It's also easier as well if you want to bring someone on specifically to handle this side. Instead of having to, say, oh, look at all our previous ads and come up with all these new ideas. You can give them a suite of tools to just work with and adjust for what is appropriate for whatever they're doing. So it makes things a lot easier for everyone. Or you can buy a component library because they exist, or you can use an agency. Whatever, I just wanted you to know how this is done in-house. Yeah, I'll do.